So this is what happens when you spend late nights on Smoky Mountain Knife Works websites looking at their like new arrivals or soon to coming soon section. Is you start to find stuff like this, which isn't something that you would have ever bought before, but you thought it looked interesting. And this is a Browning pocket knife. That being said, I don't know who made this, who actually made this, because obviously Browning doesn't make pocket knives. They just put their uh, name and logo on it. But when I saw this, the first one I saw was a Warncliffe one. There's a Warncliffe one, and then there's this one. And I thought, well, if they have a different blade shape of that, I'll probably get one. And I scroll halfway down the page and I saw this one, and I thought, okay, I'm going to order that because it looks interesting. This is the Browning Steambank, and this is the clip point version. It has 12C27 Sandvik steel, so it's not 8CR13 MOV, which is usually what you get for a knife like this. This was a $40 knife. It's got this really nice clip point blade. I really like the blade shape on this. Got a long pull. It's got this swedge up here, and it's got, it's a hollow grind. Kind of looks like a hollow grind, but yeah, it's not the whole way up the blade, and it's really pointy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Barlow. I'm not sure if I'd want to call it a Barlow because of the shape of the handle, but it does have the little bit elongated bolster and everything, so I think maybe I'll call it a Barlow. And then you can all yell at me for calling it a Barlow. Um, but yeah, so Browning Steambank in a clip point blade. Like I said, 12C27 Sandvik steel, so an upgrade over 8CR or 7CR blade steels. You get this like micarta that feels kind of not a lot like micarta. It's really smooth and kind of more plasticky. It reminds me a little bit of like the Rough Rider Reserve micarta that they use. It's not, because normally like when you get canvas micarta on like a Great Eastern cutlery, you can feel like the texture, whereas with this it's just smooth, but it does look good. The one thing that I will say is the action is not great. Closing's okay. On the opening, it's kind of, yeah, it's a little lazy opening. It will spring back open though, so it passes that test until you get to a certain point, obviously. But uh-oh, I just said it would spring back open. Okay, yeah, so it'll, once you get past a certain point, it won't spring back open because the spring's not super strong on it. But if you just move it a little bit, it'll spring back open. No half stop. The closing action's better than the opening action. Um, the long pull, you can only use a part of it because it's so far back on the blade. There's not really like blade choil to like rest your finger on, so you have to be kind of careful and make sure you don't put any pressure on that blade at all, or you risk it closing on your fingers and all that. Overall, it's a nice looking knife, and I think it's kind of an interesting thing, because usually with these like gun companies like this, um, the knives they put out are just like junk usually, because like I said, they're not actually making the knives. They're getting somebody else to make them for them, and then they're putting their name on them. So with the exception of like the Remington knives, who were made by like Camilla's way back in the day, Buck, Baron Son, or Baron Son's Buck, and now it seems like Smoky Mountain Knife Works owns the Remington knife brand, and they're going to have Great Eastern Cutlery make them. So those are really nice knives, but usually these days, anyway, because there's the old Winchester knives that are great too. But these days, usually when a gun company has a knife, it's just some super cheap Chinese knife with their name and logo on it, which is what this probably is. But you are getting a little bit better steel. Um, an interesting like looking knife and everything. I really love the blade shape on it. Um, and it's kind of a neat knife. That being said, obviously it's not going to compete with anything higher end. Certainly not going to compete with any like premium brands like Great Eastern Cutlery or Otter or Boker or anything like that. But this is a $40 knife, so you know. I don't know if the action will get better over time. I did put some mineral oil in it, which seemed to help a little bit, but not a whole lot. Um, Overall, if you have $40 burning a hole in your pocket and you think this knife looks interesting, you can go over to Smoky Mountain Knife Works and pick one up. I don't think it's a waste of money. And I think that if you're somebody who's just looking for a pocket knife that will work for you and everything, and you for whatever reason are a big fan of Browning, I think that this knife is a half decent little knife. So like I said, if you have $40 to spend, I wouldn't hesitate because it's a neat little knife. Could of course be better, but it's certainly usable, and it's not the worst pocket knife I've ever seen by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but yeah, so that's going to be it for the Browning Steambank here. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you have a good day.